So yeah, I started off doing communications in Rathmines College, and I hadn't got a clue what I wanted to do when I was in school. And to be honest, I didn't get the most amazing leaving cert points. So my plan was to go into a course that you got PLC points. So I went into Rathmines College, I did communications there. I knew I wanted to do PR, mainly because Samantha Jones in Sex and the City did PR, and I was like, that's kind of what I want to do. It looks glam. Reality, it's not. So I did my course in Rathmines in communications, and then halfway through the course, there was this agency called Think House. It's a youth communications agency, and they were like, do you want to come and work for us? And I was like, okay, and I said it to my lecturer, and he was like, well, it'll be good interview experience. You're not going to get the job because you don't have a degree. So I was like, grand. I did it, ended up getting the job. And I was around 21 at the time, and I was kind of mad on Facebook, and I was mad about Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Snapchat hadn't come about yet, but I was always a bit kind of into social media. So when I got into Think House, they were like, okay, well, social media is your job. So I was put on a couple of different accounts that I still love today. I was working on Barry's Tea, Kerrygold, and a few other kind of food brands like that. So it was my job to come up with the conversation that would happen around those brands online, which was quite fun. And this is kind of a point to take in if you guys ever want to go into digital brand management or managing social media accounts for brands or for yourselves, for your blogs, whatever. Try and get to know the brand that you're working on as well as you can, because you'll then be able to communicate from that brand better. So for example, I was working on Barry's Tea, and when I was telling my friends about this, they were like, well, what can you talk about on Facebook for Barry's Tea? Like, what's your favorite biscuit? Like, how many times can you ask that question? But I remember going down to the factory, down to the Barry's Tea factory in Cork, and there was this guy called Dennis Daly, and he was like this, he was called a master tea blender, and it was his job to taste the tea every day. He tastes about 60 cups of tea, and that kind of helps him formulate the leaves and stuff to go and make the kind of red box and the green box and all the tea brands you buy. So I met him, and I was like, this guy he's like Willy Wonka of Barry's Tea. And I went in, and he was this long table with about 60 cups of tea, and there was this woman kind of running after him with a little trough that he was spitting the tea into. So it was like, he was like, and this kind of woman was going on. I just found this kind of interesting, and I was like to the client, I was like, we need to do something with this man. He's amazing. So we brought him down to Dublin anyway, and we did a tea tasting session with media, and it was just a nice way to be able to kind of talk about Barry's Tea in a kind of fun way. So if you get to know the brand you're working on, if any of you guys want to go into social media or PR, try and find out the little nuggets that you might, people might overlook about the brand, but are actually quite interesting. Conversation pillars. So this is a thing I stuck by when I was working on social media accounts. So about Barry's Tea again, I came up with the conversation calendar, it was called, for the week ahead for Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at the time. And I'd do it on a Friday for, say, the week ahead. And I worked on off conversation pillars, which inspired stuff to write. So one of my conversation pillars was heritage, and that was all about how old and gorgeous Barry's Tea is. It was like made in 1909. It has a real kind of Irish connection. The Beatles came over in 1966. They had Barry's Tea when they were in Cork. So that's one heritage point, and there's loads of, it's kind of like a spider diagram. There's loads of little things you can take from that. Then another one's like modernity, and that's about talking about Barry's Tea in a modern sense to appeal to a younger audience. So, for example, Saoirse Ronan's mad about Barry's Tea. She brings them in like Ziploc bags whenever she goes away, and she talks about it to Ellen DeGeneres and whatever show she's on in America. So that's another thing we could talk about, modernity. Another conversation pillar was tea itself. So it doesn't just do the red box that has chamomile tea, green tea, mint tea, whatever. So they're just conversation pillars, and you can apply that to any brand you work on. Like if it's beer or whatever, you can talk about, ingredients for beers. You can talk, if it's Heineken or whatever, you can talk about the fact, I think it's Dutch, where it comes from and stuff. So whatever brand you're working on, you make 4 conversation pillars, and then it's easy enough to kind of create a content calendar for that brand. Would you be Scarlet? This is something that stuck with me. One of my managers told me, and they were always like, try and keep this in your mind. If you're ever forming a Facebook post for a brand, would you be Scarlet to post that on your own page? And if you kind of would, then it's not good for a brand, because a brand should really speak like a human, I think, rather than kind of, saying kind of condescending things like, Happy Tea Tuesday, comment below your favorite biscuit, like post like that. If you wouldn't do it on your own Facebook page, if you're too Scarlet, you don't do it for the brand. This is a brand page you all should take a photo of and look up. It's absolutely gas. It's called Condescending Corporate Brand Page, and basically they go around the world of Facebook and they pull in kind of very cringy kind of brand posts that other brands do, and they share them, and it's kind of a lot of social media managers would like this page because you want your content to not look like this content. Like, for example, I think when like David Bowie died or Prince died, there was like brands kind of jumping on, you know, the bandwagon of a celebrity dying, which is kind of distasteful. And, you know, if the brand has nothing to do with the celebrity that's dying, they shouldn't really be posting about it online. Like, you know, you're a fizzy orange drink, you can't be sad David Bowie's dead. You know, there's loads of brands out there who, when someone dies, they hop on, and it's a bit minging. And Condescending Corporate Brand Page always share them, so like it and make sure your content kind of isn't like that. So that was kind of my job throughout me working in PR kind of agencies. I kind of got a food obsession because I was working on Barry's Tea and Kerrygold and a load of other things, and I kind of wanted to get into food myself and leave PR world. But I kind of felt like I wasn't really ready to do it. I knew I wanted a cafe, and I just met my boyfriend at the time, William, and he did the Ballymaloe cookery course. So he's really good at making food, and then I was kind of good at marketing food, I guess. So I always had this in the back of my head that I wanted a food obsession. But as I said, I was like, no, I'm not ready. You need to be a proper like 30-year-old something adult to do things like that. And around that time, Snapchat came around, so it was about 2 years ago. And this is my boyfriend, William, and this is him being scared loads. So when Snapchat came around, I didn't really know what to do on Snapchat, because it actually was kind of an app, really, as you were saying, people who are riding really use Snapchat to send dirty pictures. So I kind of just knew what it was at, and I was like, well, what am I going to do on Snapchat? So I was just doing stupid things like scaring William, and loads of people really liked it. So I got loads of shout-outs. Then, you know, from high-profile people that their followers started to follow me. So I started to get this kind of audience, and I was like, what's going on? Like, poor William, I need to scare him more to keep the audience happy. So yeah, he's probably nearly dead from the amount of times I scared him, but anyway. Another thing I did on Snapchat was Snapchatting the food. So as I said, William went to Ballymaloe, so anytime we were cooking in the kitchen, I'd be Snapchatting us making things. And then people were kind of writing back to us being like, oh, like, the food you're making is amazing. Can you maybe Snapchat a bit more about how you made that sauce there? Or how did you make the crust on that pie? Or can you redo this? And we kind of like, okay, people actually care about like us on food. So I was like, come on, sure, I'm ready. So we decided, Snapchat gave us the kind of indication that there was an appetite for our food and for us to be in food. So yeah, we decided we wanted to open up a cafe, but we're like, maybe we're not there yet. We'll start by selling in markets and catering events. So I have this problem all through my life. I always get obsessions with things, and I try and do them myself. Like, you know, I wanted to start a home interiors blog a couple of months ago, and I did the website myself, and it was a bit crap, and I kind of, in hindsight now, look back and I say, try and work with the right people for the job. If you're making a website, you probably know someone who makes websites that you can get advice from, or if you want a blog or something that requires good photography, I'm sure someone you know is a good photographer. So it's all about pulling the right kind of people to you and trying to bounce ideas off correct people. So with our food brand, I was like, I want to do this properly. So I went to Good as Gold. They're brilliant if you're ever making a website or whatever, doing branding. And I went with a big mood board about what I wanted our food brand to look like. And we ended up calling it Currabinny. And William is from Currabinny. It's a little place in Cork. I'm from Nookgrove, so we couldn't really call it Nookgrove. Wouldn't really sound very premium. But we called it Currabinny, and I went with this massive mood board about what we wanted the brand to look like. And I was quite specific. I wanted our logo to have an illustration of a vegetable that looked like a botanist would draw rather than like a watercolor. So I went with all these little specifics. And then they came back with this treatment, and it was kind of, we were able to see what the brand would look like in terms of like a cover photo on Facebook, what it would look like in terms of packaging. And it really made us feel totally excited, and I think it's a testament to working with the right kind of people. So if you're doing projects, try and work with people who kind of get what you're doing. We were good at making food. We certainly weren't good at, like, you know, being websitey with food. There's it in print form. So we were kind of ready to go to market. So this was our first foray into marketness. But it was good because I kind of had a following at this point from us Snapchatting food, blah, blah, blah. So when we had the market, you know, we had a bit of an audience that were going to come down and you know, buy the stuff, I guess. So I guess building a following for your brand is quite important. I'm always mad about teasing stuff. So if I have like a market in 2 weeks, I have loads of photos like that I just take the whole time at home when we're cooking. So then we can kind of get people excited about the market. So these are some photos that we just literally take at home making food, but we always kind of put them out a week before the event. So people are like, I want to go down there and buy the food. These are tote bags we made. And yeah, and this is another point about good content pays off. So these are biscuits, right? We had these in our first market, and they're just shortbread vanilla biscuits with gold dust on the top. So I decided to call them Glamnillas, because they're like glam vanilla biscuits. So anyway, because they have a bit of a gold shine, this blogger said, damn, what highlighter are these cookies using? Because they look like makeup highlighter. And this kind of went viral. It went everywhere. But in America, really, a lot of American makeup bloggers were sharing this, but no one in Ireland. So I rang up the Daily Edge and I was like, listen, our biscuits are being viral in America. Do something here. So they did an article about it. And then other Irish media picked up on it. So, you know, it's just a kind of, again, another testament to if you have good pictures of stuff and, you know, things like this can happen. And then we ended up getting booked for loads of catering gigs because people seen this article, and we were booked for the Personal Fashion Awards, I think, and they were like, make sure you have the Glamnillas that we've seen on the Daily Edge. So, you know, it literally pays off. Keep it consistent. So we want to have a cafe at the end of all this. So we aim to have it maybe next summer. So anytime we do an appearance or a pop-up or we're in a market or catering an event, we always try and make it look like what we imagine the cafe will look like. So then when we open up the cafe, people will be like, oh yeah, I've seen the journey of that look and feel. So anytime we're there, there's me and William, there's our bits, our biscuits. So yeah, anytime we're in real life, it looks the same. Always carry protection. Now, this isn't about riding, it's about digital protection. So I was hacked a couple of months ago, and I don't know why I was hacked, but my Snapchat account was completely deleted, and you guys were referencing being safe online. I had the one password for everything. It was like James89, and it was the one I had from my Bebo days, like 10 years ago. I had it for my Gmail, my Twitter, everything. So the hacker got into all my accounts, and they were able to shut them down really quickly, because once they were in one, they were in them all. So now I find myself changing my password once a month to not James89, to like things with hashtags and dashes and, you know, technical hard passwords that people couldn't guess. So try and protect yourselves if you're managing accounts or you're starting your own thing. And I guess try and do good things. If you end up getting an audience, like I did, which was totally unplanned, but I always try and work with charities and do good things, I guess. So this is my nephew Sean. And he has atypical autism, and it was April, it was Autism Awareness Month, so I decided to do this thing that I do on my Snapchat. I asked someone, an interesting person, 5 questions, and people seemed to like it, so I decided to do it with Sean, and I asked him kind of autism-centric questions. So I said, you know, I don't have autism, Sean, but what can I do to make your life a little bit easier or whatever? And he was like, don't use sarcasm when speaking to me, because sometimes autistic people can't compute that. So he said all these really interesting things that I never would have considered. And this ended up, I ended up downloading the snaps because loads of teachers randomly follow me, and they were like, we want to show our class this. So I downloaded it, put it on Facebook, didn't really think anything of it, but it ended up going viral. It was on Her, it was on the Huffington Post, it was on Mashable, and it got nearly, I think, 1.5 million views. And this is just a little video we did in our sitting room trying to do something good. And yeah, that's just my little try and do something good message, because everyone has an audience. Everyone, you know, there's pools of people listening to all of you, so try and do something nice every now and then. And yeah, that's just a really nutshell version of me. So thanks for listening. Thank you.